going on, people? What's going on? This is your boy Raashaan Myers. Wake up 502 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. Big X Sports Radio. Coming to you live. Transfer Portal Madness. I guess this would be special number two. So we got another commitment. I said that every time there's a commitment, I'm gonna effort to get out there and do a live and talk about what's going on, take your questions, take your thoughts on what's going on at University of Louisville as the transfer portal continues to deliver gifts to all of the Card Nation fans out there. First of all, I just want to say to everybody, I know it's odd and weird that apparently, even though I'm locked out of my Twitter X account, um, because it's already set up as part of my live streaming package. Um, I'm apparently still able to go live from the account, even though I can no longer get into that account. So I'm glad that's the case because I want to let everybody out there know. Um, I can no longer post on my old account, the at Raashaan, the Raashaan, which in fact I actually need to change that. I'm gonna change that actually on my little settings while I'm sitting right here, y'all, because that's going to drive me bananas. Um, so I'm gonna change this right now, real time, while I am on this. Everybody who needs to or who wants to follow what I'm doing now, please just go and follow me at Raashaan Myers. That's Raashaan, and my last name Myers. No hyphens, no underscores, no nothing. But unfortunately, it doesn't look. Twitter's being very difficult, and they are telling me they can't verify that I'm really me. So even though I'm verified, even though I got a blue check, even though I paid for the premium, whatever have you, I can no longer. They can't verify it's me. I'm not giving up on it totally, but with so much going on in the transfer portal, with so much going on right now for U of L, I can't not be able to get in touch with the people. So please follow me at Raashaan Myers. This is going to be my new handle and my new Twitter X page going forward. All right. So apparently, I'll use the Raashaan for the live until I get everything back up and going. Just so I can make sure I can reach out to as many people as possible. But please go out there and give your boy a follow, give a retweet out there, and just kind of let folks know that I am now at the new handle. Romy Bean, I think, may be coming to check in. Roman Kelly said that he was going to try to possibly join me tonight. I don't know if Haven Harrington's going to be available, but we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to get into. I just wanted to say that off the top, just so everybody doesn't get confused and say, "Hold on, this dude told us that he's at a new handle. So why is he going live under the old handle?" So that's why that happened. So I just wanted to straighten that out. But of course, just like the first um, transfer portal special, I'm going to be taking your questions. I'm going to be taking your comments. If you guys have any for me, if you want to know about where Louisville's heading in the direction. If you have any thoughts or questions on that, um, please just let me know, and I'll give my thoughts and I'll tell you what I know and what I've heard and whatever else have you. But super exciting news. Louisville got their third commitment. We talked about Flory Badunga and Jackson Shelstad on the first special. They added to that their third official starter, Carter Knox, former McDonald's All-American, former Arkansas Razorback, one of the most explosive guys and explosive athletes in the portal, makes the commitment to University of Louisville. Kind of came out of the blue a little bit because, of course, we heard about what was going on with Badunga and Shelstad. We knew that visit was upcoming last Friday. We, of course, had heard about Paulius Moraskis. It seemed like there was a lot of talk about him, but the Carter Knox news didn't really come out that he was making a visit until I guess it was maybe late Monday night that kind of came out that hey, Carter Knox is a guy that Louisville is targeting, and he's going to make a visit to Louisville on Wednesday, and that was kind of the start of that. So it was a kind of out of the blue, but I tell you why I love it. First of all, I love the addition. Carter Knox is the first true wing player, athletic wing type guy that I can remember Louisville having in a while. Louisville has not had, a big athletic, prototype wing. This was, it's funny because Carter Knox is a player, and yes, I know he's coming off of a meniscus tear that he had in February. Apparently, it was not a complete tear. Apparently, he just had to have a repair. So, um, from the sounds of it, it doesn't sound like this is something that's going to carry on into the season. It feels like something that, um, will be pretty manageable to where he should be back July, August, maybe time frame in terms of getting back on the court, back at full go. But when you talk about Carter Knox, you talk about what he brings. I love this addition for several reasons. I love this addition because it shows the intentionality of Pat Kelsey and the coaching staff to go out there and continue to work on increasing the physicality and increasing the athleticism of the team. And, Louisville, through their first two seasons under Pat Kelsey, the athleticism aspect of it has really been missing. I mean, Kanai Roots honestly has been really the only superior athlete that Louisville had, of course, besides Michael Brown Jr. But of course, that's been a little bit truncated just because Michael was dealing with the injuries and all those things. We know what he was dealing with, but Kanai Roots was kind of the only guy that brought kind of that physical athletic edge. And I think that when you talk about Jackson Shelstad, you talk about Flory Badunga, and now you talk about Carter Knox, it gives Louisville three guys that have superior athletic traits, superior quick twitch, explosive traits. Now, Jackson Shelstad is not a guy who's going to jump. He's not Peyton Siva, and that's why I said where he reminds me of Peyton Siva with a lot of his playmaking and his quickness and his ability to get into the lane and to make things happen, creating for himself and others. But he's not going to jump over you. But he is a quick twitch athlete. He's a guy who's very twitchy. He's a guy who's very quick and explosive at the point guard position. Flory Badunga, who's maybe the best rim running big man in the country, an explosive athlete, long, great motor, another quick twitch athlete. Now you add Carter Knox, a guy who's built, more like a linebacker than a basketball player, very physical, great length, very explosive. So you're talking about having three quick twitch, explosive athletes on the court together. And I think that's very, very exciting. Uh, Seabiscuit 32 checking in, saying reminds me of T Will. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, Carter Knox is, T Will is a generational athlete or was a generational athlete. But when you talk about explosiveness, you talk about just a guy who can just give you those wow type plays. I agree with you. Carter Knox is going to be maybe the most explosive wing. Like Kanai Roots could give you some of that, being a long 6'8", 6'9" athlete guy, but the difference between Carter Knox and Kanai Roots is that Carter, okay, Carter Knox, I'll put it like this. What we envisioned the possibility of Kanai Roots becoming, Carter Knox already is. Like Carter Knox already has the body. He already has the physicality. He's already a guy who punishes teams with his physicality, with his length, and with his explosiveness attacking the basket. He's a guy who already can step out and consistently be a threat that you have to respect from 3-point range. He's already a guy that checks a lot of those boxes. Carter Knox is more of the finished product of what we hoped that Kanai Roots could become. And I love the addition of that because while I love Kanai Roots and, the same thing with Sananda Fru, you know, while those guys had ability and while those guys had the chance to become something great, Pat Kelsey has gone out and said, give me guys that are already great and give me guys that have already proven that they could do that thing at a very high level. So while you could have a Michael Brown that potentially should have become one of the better point guards in the ACC and an all ACC type guy. You get Jackson Shellstat, who's already been that and who was a preseason Big Ten, All Big Ten selection, and a guy who was second team All Big Ten as a sophomore at Oregon. He's already been one of the best players in one of the best leagues in the country. You have Flory Badunga, who's already, while you talk about the potential of what Sananda Fru could have become, you get a Flory Badunga who's already Defensive Player of the Year in the Big 12. You get Flory Badunga who's likely to be a first team All American. He already's done that. Instead of having a Kanai Roots that you said is the type of athlete that if he could just get his game to where it should be, he could be a dude out on the wing that can be that versatile guy that can guard three or four players, and then also turn around and be a matchup nightmare on offense because he's so physical and so big and so explosive. Now Louisville has three guys that are already all those things. So you aren't having to say, hopefully this guy can become that. We're saying these are guys that already have that. And I love that because this is a I don't want to say a make or break year for Pat Kelsey, but this is clearly Louisville saying that they want to push all their chips to the table. Pat Kelsey now in his third year after watching what went right and what went wrong in a second year that was expected to be really, really good and expected to have, you know, Elite Eight, Final Four possibilities. After falling short of that, Pat Kelsey looks like he's seen the light and he understands what he needs to do to take that next step. And I absolutely love the three guys that he's gotten so far. And when I look at Carter Knox, he's a guy who to me is a prototypical finisher. Okay, he's a prototypical finisher wing. He's a guy who has great 3-and-D potential. I talked about the fact that I wanted Louisville to get back to having um, a bigger team and be that bigger, more physical team. I don't think you necessarily are going to get away from understanding that the 3-point shot is a very valuable shot, and analytically, getting those shots up is going to help you have a great opportunity for success, and it's going to have a great opportunity for good things to happen. But um, I feel like what you're going to see is a Louisville team that now becomes much more balanced. You have a team that's going to become much more balanced because you have guys that are going to put tremendous, tremendous rim pressure out there. And that's been Louisville's probably their biggest issue. I mean, you were able to put some rim pressure on the team in year one because of what James Scott was as a lob threat, and you could kind of utilize Chucky Hepburn in a lot of those pick and roll situations where you're screen rolling with Fat Edwards or you're screen rolling and rolling uh, James Scott to the basket to kind of put that pressure on the rim and forcing the defense to make a decision. But Louisville didn't really have that last year. Sananda Fru, because of Sananda Fru was just not that type of athlete. Sananda Fru looked like most of the year he was just trying to figure out life. Um, and just was not that true lob threat that James Scott was, on top of the fact that, Michael Brown missed a lot of time. So I think that played into it as well. But I really and truly believe that, now that you have another guy in Carter Knox who can create for himself, he can create off the bounce. He's a guy who's very good at being physical and getting fouled and, finishing through contact. That the type of rim pressure he's going to be able to put on there. That's the thing with Jackson Shelstad, Flory Badunga, and now Carter Knox. All three of those guys are going to be defense. They're going to be, very good defensive players. Okay, so they're going to give you a defensive personality. The likes that you haven't seen with Louisville in the first couple of years, outside of Chucky Hepburn being all world defensively. But you're going to have three guys that on offense. All three of those guys are going to put pressure on the rim in different ways. Okay, Shellstad's going to be able to put pressure on the rim in pick and roll situations. Flory Badunga is going to put pressure on the rim, playing out of the dunker spot or in the pick and roll. And Carter Knox is going to put pressure on the rim because when Jackson Shellstad is running that screen roll, if you kick it to Knox, Knox is a guy who is comfortable pulling up the three if you hang back on him too far. He's comfortable with, pump faking or stepping and attacking the rim, getting to the rim and finishing through contact. So he's going to put pressure on the rim in a couple of different ways, as well as being an adept mid-range shooter, as Shellstad is as well. And the more pressure you're going to be able to put on the first, at the rim and in that mid range, that's going to allow for more open opportunities from the 3-point line. And like that's why I say I don't necessarily think we'll get away from shooting threes. Like I've heard some people say that, oh, Louisville's going to just change to where they're only going to be shooting, you know, hitting, knocking down 4 or 5 threes a game. I don't think that's the case at all. If anything, I think that Louisville, while they may not shoot as many jump shots. They may not take as many threes as last year. Like last year, Louisville was trying to get to 30 or 35 threes a game. That may not be the case now. I'd say maybe now Louisville goes 25 threes a game. That they may be happy with getting 20 plus 3-point attempts, but the number of 3-point makes, I think Louisville was hitting around 10 threes per game last year. I think that number may go down slightly just because they're not shooting as many, but I would say that they'll still be right at 8 or 9, 8, 9, 10. They'll have multiple 10 3-point games where they have a bunch of 3-point makes. But I just don't think they're going to be shooting as many because they won't have to, because you have guys that are going to put so much rim pressure out there that you're going to be able to get good 3-point shots. Like Louisville last year felt like a team that was shooting threes just to shoot them. Does that make sense? Like they spent a lot of time shooting a lot of threes, but they weren't good 3-point attempts. So it's like, yeah, you're getting up 35 threes, but you're shooting, you know, 30%, 28%, 31%, 32% in a lot of these bigger games because you're not getting good 3-point opportunities because you have these bigger, more physical teams that just aren't going to allow you to just stand out there and shoot wide open threes. So you kind of skew the numbers because against teams that you're obviously better than, you can kind of pad the stats a little. Um, so for me, I think that this is going to make Louisville a much more efficient 3-point shooting team, and I think that we'll see very similar 3-pointers made numbers without as many 3-point attempt numbers. So I think that Louisville could see that. I think last year they ended up shooting around 36 or 37% from three. I think as long as they get a couple of solid 3-point shooters, and we'll talk about some guys that'll help that out, as well as the fact that I think that Jackson Shellstad is going to be a much better 3-point shooter than he was last year, because he was kind of coming off of those hand injuries and things of that nature. Um, I think that. Louisville's going to shoot a higher percentage as a team. Like I could see them getting to that 38, 39 percentile as a team shooting the 3-pointer just because they're getting better 3-point shots. They may not have the better pure shooters that they had. Like they may not have a Ryan Conwell or an Isaac McNeely, though they could still pick up a couple of really good shooters in the portal. I think, guards to me are where there's the most of those types of players out there. To me, the guys that they got early were the guys you need to have because there's only so many superior athletes and guys with superior size and athleticism combination out there. So you have to go get those first. But I think that there's plenty of guys that can go out there and shoot open shots and knock down open shots. So I'm not worried about that. People that say Louisville's not gotten any shooting yet, they don't have any shooters. Trust me when I tell you, there's going to be plenty of shooters out there. Looks like we have some more uh, comments on here. Let's see. C Biscuit 32 says NBA pedigree. Yes, no. When you talk about Carter Knox, he does have an NBA pedigree. He comes from a family of pros, guys that you know understand how to carry themselves as a professional. They understand how to handle rehab as professionals. I love. I mean, I just love everything, and plus, I just love Carter Knox as a player. Like he's a guy that when I watched Arkansas play, the things that I loved about them were the fact that they had two guys in Carter Knox and Billy Richmond that could get out there and just be wreak havoc defensively, wreak havoc in passing lanes, wreak havoc doing those athletic things that other teams just don't have. So while you may have a skill advantage or you may be able to go out there and hit some shots, when you have guys that can just make those three, four, five plays a game where it's just like, you know what, we just don't have one of those dudes, quote unquote dudes. Louisville has two of those guys now because I think that of course, Flory Badunga is that, and I think Carter Knox is that. And if you can have Flory Badunga have three or four dude plays a game, and you can have Carter Knox give you three or four dude plays a game, that can be the difference in a game that's super close and being able to get out to a comfortable 10 or 12 point win on the road at a Tennessee or at a Arkansas or at what the places where we saw those losses last year, or in year one. I think those guys can do that, and Louisville is going to have the opportunity to play that way, and they still have to fill in the rest of the roster. But I agree with you. I think that that's huge. Looks like we also have let's see, uh, C Biscuit. I think talking about uh, talking about the base says Samardo Samuels type big makes defenders respect his backside help, not run guys off the 3 point line. McNeely was taking threes from half court sometimes. No, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you there. Like that I that to me is a big part of it, right? Is that yes, when you don't have to respect anything from the middle game or from the post game, you can just sit on the 3 point line, and all you see is Ryan Conwell backing up further and further. It's like, what's the point of taking threes if all you're doing is taking bad threes? And that's what Louisville was doing. It was just taking bad threes, game after game after game after game after game. And it's like you're not gonna that's not going to get you anywhere, and I think that's why it was crucial. That's why I say that I would hold the phone on saying that, oh well, while I agree that Louisville is going to play differently, I think that if Louisville can play more to the way they played the last week of the regular season, you know, and where they are actually, when guys are being given driving lanes, you're taking those driving lanes and getting to the rim and looking to be aggressive to score. That's going to open up your 3 point shooters. You only need, like, the one thing that I will say is that, in my personal opinion, I've never thought you need 4 3 point shooters out there on the court at the same time. To me, I feel like if you have 2 to 3 guys that you have to respect, like if you can give me, let's say Carter Knox can shoot 35, 36, 37% from three, give you what Javon Hadley gave you as a 3 point shooter. If you can do that, what Javon gave you as his first year with Louisville, because he was actually Louisville's top 3 point shootage percentage guy this past season. So I'm not going to hold Carter to that. I don't need him shooting darn near 40%. But if Carter can give me 36, 37%, be a guy that you have to close out on, if you can do that, Jackson Shelstad, I think, is going to get back to where he was more so as a junior. I think he's going to be at that 37, 38, 39%. If you give me those two guys and then you find a a two guard that is a knockdown shooter, a guy who's going to be close to that 40% mark, I think that's plenty of shooting. You don't need to have everybody out there shooting threes to have a team that can be super efficient and super effective from 3 point range. So, I don't know that Pat Kelsey is going to completely scrap everything that he's done his first 2 years and kind of the philosophy that he's adopted over the last couple of years. I think he's just adjusting the system and becoming, understanding that basketball is still basketball. You can't ignore the middle game. You can't ignore the post game and just say we're only gonna have 3-point shooters and that's all we're gonna do. That's not um that's just not realistic. That's not realistic. And I think what he's shown me with these three guys that he's added so far is that you are going to make teams respect Louisville from all three levels. And I just think that's the better way to go, on top of the fact that Louisville's going to be able to be better defensively. So super, super excited. I love the Carter Knox addition. I think that Carter Knox is going to be huge, in terms of what he's able to do. I think that, um, for me, it'll be interesting where we go from here. Let's go ahead and kind of get into that. I think that, um, of course, the guy that everybody's kind of waiting on, kind of the worst kept secret, Alvaro Figueres, the Spaniard from Iowa. He was one of the darlings of the NCAA tournament. Really, really had a great, great showing in the NCAA tournament. Um, he's a guy who, in my personal opinion, when you look at his numbers, you look at him, he's around 8.5 points per game. He's at about 3.5 rebounds per game. Mike Rutherford, when he was talking about Fulgaris today, made an excellent point about him. You have to consider the fact that he was playing at Iowa in one of the slowest paced offenses in the country. So he was only playing about 20, 22 minutes per game, and he was coming. First of all, he was coming off the bench as a reserve. He was playing around 20 minutes per game, and he was playing a very low possession game. So his opportunities were super, super limited. So I think his numbers are skewed a little low because of that. And when you look at what he was able to do at Robert Morris, where he averaged almost a double double, I think that the truth of what Fulgaris can be is somewhere in the middle. I mean, Fulgaris was a guy who was averaging about 20 and 14 or something crazy at Robert Morris, shooting over 40% from three. I feel like um, he's a lot closer to that guy than what those numbers kind of show at Iowa, because I just think because of the slow pace, you're kind of walking the ball up, so there's fewer opportunities. There's not a lot of opportunities because you do have some big time shooters on that Iowa team. But we saw that he became a go-to guy in the NCAA tournament. He was putting up over 14 points per game because when things ratcheted up and you got against teams that were better defensively and teams that were going to put pressure, the cream rises to the top, and Fulgaris became a star. He was a stud. So I definitely think that I will be super excited if Louisville can get that addition solidified. If Fulgaris is Louisville's next get, you would be set at the 2, 3, and 4, or excuse me, the 3, 4, and 5, and you'll have your front court and you'll have your point guard. And at that point, you add a starting shooting guard and you're good to go. And I know a lot of people have been saying, well, what about Adrian Woolley? What about Adrian Woolley? Um, I personally think that Adrian Woolley is perfect to be a six man of the year type candidate at Louisville. I think that that's the type of role where I feel like he does the best for Louisville. I don't think that Adrian Woolley should be a starter. To me, on a Final Four team, he is the type of guy that comes off the bench and makes big plays. He can come off the bench. He can change the temperature. He's a guy who can come in. He can handle. He can get his own shot. He can be a dog defensively. He can be aggressive going to the rim. I just think that Woolley is a guy that I would love his skill set coming off the bench, giving Louisville a little bit of everything, or anything he wants. He can help. He can help out at the 1. He can help out at the 2. He can even help out at the 3. I think that he has more value coming off the bench as a six man. So even if Fulgaris is the guy and you have 4 of your starters taken care of, I don't think that you just say, okay, well, we'll just slide Woolley in there and then figure out from there. I think Woolley has much more value as a bench guy. That's just, to me, I see where would help the team, and I just think it helps Louisville's depth. I mean, Louisville is going to want to. It sounds like that they may want to shorten the bench a little bit to where they're only using a solid 8-man rotation. And I think if you can have Woolley as kind of that utility dude, you can have a true backup point guard, and you can have a big man that can give you, some defense rebounding, preferably some low post scoring. I think that that's where you're going to. I think that's where they should go. Well, well, well. Look who's joining us. Romy Bean is in the house. Rome, how are you doing? Oh, yeah, you're muted. You're muted, Rome. Unmute yourself. Just try that again.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, there he goes. There he goes. Rome, first of all, thank you for joining the broadcast, brother. How are you doing this evening, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm excited to chat with you about your reactions, get your thoughts. There's a lot of fun news when you look at how the different roster additions can be talked about, what Louisville's in on going forward with a few different names, and how this roster is really coming together. It's exciting. Few different ways you can look at it, and I'm feeling good. Feeling good.
Yeah, absolutely, Roman. It's been a crazy week for me with all this stuff going on with my Twitter X account and getting locked out. It's crazy. I can still do live from my old account. So for whatever reason, we're able to keep that for now. So I'm still able to broadcast even though I can't get in there, and I'm kind of slowly going to move over to the Raashaan Myers. I'm using that. That's the only place where I can post and do all that stuff. So that's why I was telling everybody early, make sure they go follow me at Raashaan Myers. And you need to get Mike to let everybody know that next time you're on the show. I need Mike's big,
Yeah,
his big
we
mouth to
get
help
Mike to
get
say it.
the yeah, get that out there. I need his big, his audience to let all the people know. But it's been a crazy week, but at least we get to still have the live, so we can have the Twitter live on X as well as YouTube and Facebook. But Roman, let me just ask you, man, just um, I've been talking about what I loved about Carter Knox, and some of the things that he brings in terms of just being, in my personal opinion, the third elite athlete that Louisville has signed. I think all three of these guys athleticism is just different than what Louisville's had over the first 2 years. What do you like about the Knox signing, or what's the biggest thing that you like about adding Carter Knox?
I like the versatility it gives you defensively, Rashawn. You haven't had a player in here in 2 years that outside of Chucky Hepburn is like a game changing defender or
Yeah,
just overall athlete. I think Kanai was that, but didn't get the minutes to really display it enough against, especially not against good teams where you really needed it,
yeah,
due to the lack of the trust and skill in the offensive game. I guess they felt that they had with him. But with that being said, Carter Knox immediately comes in here and becomes your best wing defender you would have in either year's roster.
yeah,
And in a season in which you're trying to make that change in a team that's looking to be bigger and brawnier down low, that's looking to utilize its size offensively more with the 2 point baskets and the variety of 2 point baskets that are going to be taken, and trying to have a balance, as a team that's in the last 2 seasons been layups and free throw or layups, dunks, and 3 pointers, obviously, and free throws. But you can't you have to be able to do it to score at all three levels. You have to have players that can be a threat at all three levels offensively, and I think Louisville really wants to do that. And Carter Knox is the kind of player that can come in and be that kind of, doesn't need the ball in his hands to make an impact because of his ability to shoot and stretch the floor at the three position. You have to be honest with him and keep a hand near him off the ball, and he can attack closeouts with the best of them. So I think if you can still have that floor spacing, but on the defensive end, you can be a team that knows you don't have any pushovers out there when you've got a player like Carter Knox out there alongside Flory Badunga.
yeah. No, I mean I'm right there with you. Like Louisville has only had two twitchy athletes in Pat Kelsey's first two teams, and that's Kenai Roots and Michael Brown. Those are the only two guys that I would consider to be quick twitch, explosive athletes. And I think that's something that they desperately needed. And I think that's something that got exploited when they played against the best teams on their rosters, is that they just did not have enough quick twitch, explosive athleticism out there. And I feel that Shellstad, Knox, and Flory Badunga are all twitchy, explosive athletes. And I just think that kind of changes the tenor of the team. And I agree with you. I think that, the biggest thing that Coach Kelsey kind of ignored in the first 2 years with this team is the fact that you have to be sound from both the mid range and in the post in terms of being able to score to keep teams honest. I know that Mike says that that he thinks that Louisville is just kind of getting away from shooting the threes and having the three be a big analytical part of the lineup. But I kind of push back against that. I don't think that necessarily Louisville's going to get away from valuing the 3-point shot. But to me, it feels like these three guys are going to make teams have to respect all parts of the court. That you can't just sit on the 3-point line and dare Louisville to drive. Because Carter Knox is going to take up that airspace and he's going to dunk on somebody. If you sit on the 3-point line and you leave Flory Badunga at that dunker spot, Louisville's going to throw it right over your head, and that's going to be a dunk all day long. The amount of rim pressure that these three guys are going to put on the team, to me, is going to make Louisville, while they may not shoot 38, 35, 36 threes, they're going to shoot an efficient 25 threes. Good shots, good 3-point shots, to where you're not having to, throw up a 3-point shot 38 feet from the basket under heavy pressure. You know what I mean? Like, if you can eliminate those 12 bad threes, Roman, from your offense and take 25 to 26 good threes, to me, you're a more efficient offensive team. That way your offense looks a little bit more like, say, an SMU than what Louisville was this past season.
Yeah, and that's what you need to have. I think if you look at SMU, they were trying to do it with kind of undersized guys at certain positions, right?
Yeah.
Undersized point guard, an undersized three, and then a center you're asking him to do a lot by himself that you need two big guys to be doing. He's doing it all at the center role. But at the end of the day, they could still attack you down on the block. They had guys that can pull up in the mid range if you tried to play them tight on the 3-point line and run them off the 3-point line. And you had a guard who can light them up with his skill on the perimeter. So I think, and you look at the numbers, when SMU played their best basketball at times, they were a very, very high powered offense. And I think you're looking to have like that on steroids. You want like that type of offense on steroids, I think, with a bigger presence on defense than what you get with Igutolu. Granted, Igutolu is a crafty defender. It's like, well, he's a really scrappy guy who doesn't get off the ground very high. An amazing defender who can't really jump is really what that is.
Right.
And that makes him an average defender compared to what other guys his size can be in the ACC. In
And he
my
tends
eyes,
to
but
foul too much when he faces athleticism. He's
exactly.
he's a
But the
little
help side blocks and just having that
yeah.
grown man's game and size allows him to make contests and do what you
He
need to
takes
do.
up a lot of space.
Exactly. Not necessarily going to get his hand on the basketball all that much, though, and that's where Floyd Badunga's even that's where he's different. But the Carter Knox in specific, I don't know, because I know that we've shot a lot of threes these two seasons, Raashaan. Yes, you got to
Yeah.
see an influx with how the team really ran, which pace of play can immediately impact the number of 3-point attempts you're getting up in a game. And that was all because of injuries. But with that being said, I think they want to have a balance. I think when you look at Illinois, you look at UConn, you look at teams that have that thorough offense, that an offense that can create for multiple different people on the floor at times due to the different matchup advantages it can kind of have, because it has somebody that can hit from the three, has a
Yeah.
player who can commit off the bounce. It has guys out there on the wing that are multi-tool guys that you have to space the floor. They can attack closeouts if they have the right matchup, and they're just overall good playmakers. So I think that they want to be able to play any single way that they need to.
Yes.
Louisville had no option. If you needed to do this and you need to do this and you need to do A, B, C, D, E, and F. Louisville's got A and B, and if A and B don't work, they're screwed, right?
Yeah.
And I
I
don't
mean,
think that that's
too
what.
many possessions, Roman, where for year one, it was just let Chucky or Fat dribble around and just throw up something to get a shot off if they need it. This past year, Ryan Conwell just dribbling and dribbling and dribbling, or McNeely having to just chuck something up because they've not been able to get anything to shake loose. Like, too many possessions where it's not good offensive possessions. And that's where I say you can't just say, okay, we just want to get to this number of 3-point attempts and we don't care what it looks like. You can't. That's not good basketball. That's bad basketball. And to me, Louisville has not been nearly efficient enough as an offensive team. Year one, you understand it with the injuries and with everything else. But to me, these three guys are necessary because you are going to have a um, a team that's going to make you be sound at all three levels. Like I'd still like to see them get another low post presence. I don't even know even if you're because I know Fulgaris and we talked a little bit about him. Fulgaris looks like he's going to possibly be the guy at the 4 spot, even though we're still waiting for an official announcement on him, unless it's happened in the last hour or so. Um, you know, he's a guy that can give you some of that, but he's definitely still more of a face up guy or a guy who can drive the lane and dunk on you. He's not really a low post guy. I'd like to see Louisville add a big man to come off the bench who can be a rebounder, be a defender, and have some sort of dexterity to at least score at the basket. I think that would have value because you don't really have that on the team yet. I don't think that Flory Badunga is a guy that you're going to throw the ball to on the block much and just say go to work, big man. I know he can do that a little bit, but that's not really the bread and butter of his game. What do you think for this team? Are you at least comfortable with saying that you feel like Fulgaris is going to get done? Are we good enough to
Yeah,
say
that's what I was just checking there, seeing if I could see anything new on that. I don't. uh, From what it sounds like, yeah, I think it's safe to say that that's
I
we're at
hesitate to
full.
say anything because I thought Marascus was done too, and then you know
Like I say that we're in full swing for him, which there's no way to tell how like what the percentage of it being complete is, what the percentage chance of us landing him is. But I
breaking
do know
up. I
they're
don't
in
know.
full swing, and when Louisville seems to be in full swing for guys, they more times than not, Pat Kelsey gets these guys. So, I obviously though, there's no way to know for certain,
I've
and
seen a
things are
couple of crystal
subject.
balls, Roman. I've seen a couple of tweets of some crystal balls being added. I've seen at least three different sources that have made crystal balls for Fulgaris to Louisville. Trilly said that he thinks that Fulgaris is coming to Louisville. So we're getting to the point to where it feels like it's inevitably a done deal when this many guys are saying that. So let's just go ahead and knock on wood. I'm knocking on my wood over here that Fulgaris is going to be a card. What do you think is the most important thing to do now or next?
Well, okay, if we're hypothetically assuming the full Garris could recruitment is one that we've won, right?
Yeah,
Um, you got to go get a scorer in the backcourt. You got to add a scorer to relieve that pressure from Shellstad. Right now, you have a bunch of guys who are perfect pieces to a system. You don't have any guys that can be the head of the nose of that system, in my opinion, on the offensive end. Does that
yeah,
make sense? Or the head
yeah,
of the snake, I should say.
yeah.
You have the perfect 1B. You've got like 3 1Bs, I think is what's really kind of funny about this offense right now. I think Shellstad's the perfect 1B. When you look at if it's option one of who's your best scorer on a team, Shellstad's the kind of guy that you'd really ideally want to be your 1B. I think Flory Badunga in a perfect world offensively, he can be you want him to just really be your second option. But with his lob threat ability and his ability to kind of command the ball on the block when he has a matchup that's not big enough or physical enough, I think you want him to be your 1B. You got to go get you like a 16, 17, 18 plus per game guy who can really handle the basketball and command the opposition's best defender, at least the best perimeter defender. I think a player like a Blackwell.
So I was gonna say Darth Thanos just sent this message saying he wants to see Blackwell and Fulgaris to go ahead and round out this starting five. This is
That's
what I want to ask
crazy
you.
money though. Like
Well,
that's
this is
gotta.
that's exactly what I was going to ask. Okay, let's say Blackwell was like, "Yeah, coach, you know what? I love what you're selling. I want to become a Cardinal." Let me just ask you this: if you think you could get Blackwell done, but Blackwell's gonna cost you a nice chunk of change. Is it worth it to go out there and get him when you could probably get three really good players? You could get a lesser starting level two guard and get two really nice bench players as well with that money you're going to give Blackwell. Is he worth it?
I think it depends on where Adrian Woolley's head is at.
Okay.
I think if Adrian Woolley's willing to come in and at the beginning of the season, at least for what the current recruits have signed up for, be a bench piece
I,
and
I
want to
think
be here.
Woolley could be a six man of the year type player at Louisville. And I think, and I said this before you joined, Roman, I feel like to me, because of his versatility and his skill set, his ability to guard multiple positions and to play multiple perimeter positions, I feel like his skill set makes him almost more valuable as a six man coming off the bench because he can come in and be a two if you need it. Come in and be a defensive three if you need it. Come in and handle some reserve point guard minutes if you need it. Like to me, his versatility almost makes him more valuable as a six man. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And I agree. Now, I also think that there's a couple players in the portal. I don't even want to really go any name routes, but there are in terms of just size and skill. Like you mentioned, if Blackwell's like at a number where you don't feel good about Fulgaris, if you or you're kind of waiting to see what you're going to give Fulgaris based on what the Blackwell commitment maybe is, maybe
Yeah.
there's just enough money to fully go around. I think there's a route to accepting Woolley as a starter if you go in and bring in the best 6'10 shooter in the portal or something like that, right? To kind of
Yeah.
play that four spot on offense, switch Twin Tower esque kind of mentality on defense, but I don't think there's that kind of a play. Like there's no case in Prior in the
I mean,
portal
so
right now
Garris is
from
6'10",
2 years ago.
and he shot 41% at Robert Morris
He
his
did.
last
He
year there.
did.
Like he played in a lot different role at Iowa, and I think at
If you
Louisville
could get
the up and down
41% out of full Garris, I'd love to.
at
I'd love to.
6'10", 230. I mean, that's nice. I mean, that's Garris was
And
one of
he's
the highest rated guys in the portal last year.
and he's similar to the explanation that I gave on Yigatolu in the sense that like very good defender for one that is limited athletically. He's
I
not going to
think
get.
he's the perfect guy to have if you have a super elite defensive center like Fulgaris at the four. I don't have any problem with him being a little bit less than defensively because you have a dude that's so plus that gives you such an
He's
advantage
going to have
at
the
the five
size
spot.
matchup at the four, and on
Yes.
top of that, Fulgaris is going to be typically going to have the size matchup. He's typically going to have a player unless that player can light it up from three with off ball movement or is an all time ball handler at the four spot. You can start a Fulgaris alongside of a Badunga. I just don't know if you can bring in a Fulgaris financially with a Blackwell and bring back a Woolley. Now you're talking about needing an extra scoring guard type of a piece as
I
well.
mean,
So
like, the way they're sounding like they feel like they can do all of those things. I just like to me, Roman. This is my thing, right? Is if you have Shellstad, Fulgaris, Knox, and uh, Flory, I don't think you have to have a superstar at the two. To me, you can go get a very good, dyed in the wool. We know this dude can get buckets as a mid-major guy, and plug him in there and tell him all he needs to do is get buckets. We don't need you to create. We don't need you to play make. You need to be able to handle the ball. So you got to be able to have the ability to shoot and create off the dribble. But outside of that, that's all we need you to do. Like to me, I feel like that's why I said I think Blackwell is just being greedy because you don't really need another dude that's that good. That does that make sense? At some point, that's just too many Chiefs and not enough Indians. Like I don't feel like you have to have the Monstars starting five. At some point, it just becomes a little too. If you have that starting five and Woolley at the six, as your sixth man, that's just kind of unnecessary. Like I'm not gonna. I
we
wouldn't
need
argue with you.
unnecessary. We need that. We need that for a year.
I guess so. We got another question coming in here. Rob CT5B. Let's see. He says, I agree 100%. We need a top tier 8 or 9 man rotation. Do you think Andrzej's year in the CAA can get us some low-cost diamond in the rough types to round out the roster. Yeah, what do you think about the bottom of the roster? Because I've heard this 8 or 9, 7 or 8 man rotation. It sounds like Louisville's going to pay pretty good money to those top 8 guys. But what about guys 9 through 12 or 13? What do you think that should look like for Louisville?
Uh that's that's tough. I think you need a good sizable backup big and you need a good backup point guard.
Yeah.
Partially now I go either way with the big in the well, I think you need a backup point guard no matter what. You
Would
need
you
a
take
player
Dylan
that
Darling
I, I
as your
don't
backup
know.
point guard?
I don't see Dylan Dylan's gonna command a penny to where if you are
Think
convince
so?
him to, yeah, he'll command enough
Okay.
from somewhere that he's willing to start at
Okay.
versus take the same money and come off the bench. I
Go
think
to like
so.
Clemson or Boston College
Oh
or
yeah,
something like that.
and just be the man
Yeah. Yeah. That makes
for
sense.
$1.2 million if they've got it, compared to
Yeah.
playing here for $1 million or something.
Yeah.
So, and that's all speculation. I
Yeah.
don't. Dylan Darling may be worth $2 million for all we know.
I'm
Um,
not paying Dylan Darling too. I know he's nicknamed Church Bells, but you know, Church Bells is coming to Louisville. He's coming for about 800 grand. I'm just being honest.
I I want to back up big
Okay.
because Flory is going to be our guy down low.
What
He's
type
going
of
to hit
big
you in
man?
foul trouble.
What type of
I
big
mean,
man would you want?
I want one that is the biggest player because of the route you seem to be going with. You're putting Flory at the 5, which
Yeah.
I'm okay with. Right? I think if you put Flory at the 4, it needs to be a certain type of 5 that we don't need to be spending that kind of money on, nor does it really exist in the portal right now. That's shown it can do it at this level, right?
Yeah.
So slash Amara, like there's no 7-4. There's no Mara
I mean,
from
Mustafa
Michigan.
Cham is
He's up.
close.
He's up there. Now I
He's
just don't.
close.
He's like right at the borderline of like you go get him and you put Flory at the floor at
Hey,
4.
is it
Outside of
fair?
that,
Now let me ask you this: Am I crazy for this? Let's just argue Mustafa Cham at the 5, Flory at the 4, Fulgaris at the 3, Knox at the 2, and just do full Michigan. Like, what do you think about that?
and win every game 70-60.
Just beat everybody over the head. Like,
Yeah, win every game 70-40.
I'm here for that, Rome.
Score
I'm here for
35 points, 30
that.
points a half, and win 60-50.
Just
I'm okay
meathead,
with that.
bro.
I'm okay with that. I
I mean,
think you still
Fulgaris
get
can
enough
be our
offense.
Momcilovic. You know what I'm saying? We'll have the 2 best shot blockers in the NCAA in the post.
Neither one can put up a 3 to save their life.
No, we don't need them to. Just dunker spot everything.
At that
Go
point,
get
John
everything on.
Andersjak would be doing more coaching than Pat Kelsey would.
I mean, I'm just saying. Why not? Why not?
I would love that. I would love that. Go out there, lead the nation in blocks, break every Louisville defensive record,
Yeah.
most consecutive games with holding opponents under 50 points. We would probably break that record, or at least like get close to whatever that kind of streak was. Break a couple of ACC defensive records. I would love it. I would love it. But I don't know if the coaching staff is capable of coaching that level of
No,
a team.
Pat Kelsey is not ready for that change.
He ain't ready for that yet. He ain't ready for that yet.
I
don't
would
think.
love it, but
I
don't see it.
and then you got to worry about the foul trouble and the free throw shooting. We got to be prepared to be a 67% free throw shooting team on the season. I don't want to see that, if I'm being honest. After watching the score 88 points a game the last 2 years, but
I mean, it's fair, but it would be effective though.
it would be. We'd be the most effective team in college basketball. And it's funny because financially, that starting 5 wouldn't be much more than what you're kind of being talked about willing to spend now.
I mean, I think that Cham would cost half of what we are willing to pay Blackwell. So to me, if I call up Cham today and say we'll give you $3 million, come on, big man.
I would like to get a 6'10",
do that.
6'11", 7-footer to come off the bench to
Okay.
like when Flory's in foul trouble or Flory has to sit, you come in with a presence that maybe doesn't have the lateral quickness to get to one spot on the floor to the other in the half court, but it's his paint. If the ball reaches the paint, he is going to impact the play, right? Go get a
Yeah,
guy like that. He can't do anything other than that. And like I'm talking like so big he can't even play above the rim type big. I don't
yeah.
even need him to be a lob threat. I
A
just need him to be
Anashek had a big man that didn't he
he did have a
redshirted.
kind
That's
of big
like
like that. Yeah,
he had a
I'd
big
like
dude
to
that's like
I'd
7'1", like 280 pounds or something
I'd like
crazy
to
like
bring
that.
in a 6'10 plus 250-pound plus big for the backup spot. I'd like
Yeah.
to bring in a senior, you know, I don't even know what kind of school you say. Like go get like a I don't even know from where. Just go get a senior point guard. Maybe even like a fifth year. He redshirted 1 year.
Rome, I need two of them. I need two ball handlers. I
Well,
need
here's
two
what I was
ball
gonna
handler
say.
guards.
I said go say get one of those and go get you like a freshman sophomore 6'6" guard, 6'7" combo guard,
Okay.
a future Carter Knox, right? That's I get Carter Knox is definitely a forward, but go
Yeah.
get somebody who can play that role as a 2 or a 3, a small ball, big type of player. He can be big in a small ball lineup at the 3 or 4 spot.
Yeah.
Go get you a young kid like that. I think
But let
since
me ask you this.
you didn't bring a freshman in, you owe it to yourself to go try to get a sophomore.
What about like a Kelron House? A local kid,
I'd like that.
has some ability. I like to me, I think there's an opportunity, especially with these bottom of the roster. Like I saw, Kyron Tilly was like player of the year at his level at D2, averaging 20 some odd points per game. Tilly, of course, played at Evangel Christian. And had to go like a lot of high school freshmen had to go the D2 route, but he's been dominant in D2. Like to me, what would hurt Rome if your 11th, your 12th, your 13th scholarship was for a dude like Kyron Tilly, a dude that loves the city, is from the city, is a diehard Cardinal, has talent, good size, a 6'5" point guard. You know what I'm saying? 6'4", 6'5" guard who can handle the ball. He's savvy, and it builds like goodwill with like with the locals. Like to me, why not do something that like that with your 11, 12, 13 guys and have some developmental type dudes.
I think for one, it's interesting. Like you want to be PGU and you're a guard yourself, and you haven't really shown you've got it yet in terms of player development. Why not go get yourself a project?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
why I'm surprised that you
And you
haven't
have
gone
a
and
lot
gotten
of
like
good talent from around here, around this
go get
area
the
right now.
go get the 200th uncommit like the 200th ranked uncommitted guard
Yeah.
and just have him be on the team and say you're not a walk on, but you're definitely probably not going to play outside of these couple of bye games this season. If you get in the gym and get your body right and continue to get better in this system, you'll definitely have a spot in this rotation sophomore year, and you're a starter by your junior year. Go that I want that. We all want that, Raashaan. I don't
Mhm.
know. What's interesting is that for some reason, those kids, it seems like even command a good check these days where you can't bring a kid in to be a sophomore or a freshman who you're not going to play at all.
Well, I
So
mean,
if you
that's what
can
I'm saying. Like
find
a
a
kid
kid that's
for a kid
willing to
like
be that
Tilly,
role,
he's coming from D2.
you think they'll play him?
I think you
I
bring
think
in a
they'd
kid
view him
like
as like
that.
a step up from Will Hankey and
I mean, well, that's
from
what I'm saying.
from
But
Spencer
my thing
because like
is,
it's literally
he
it's
he's
like
got
it's a step up from Spencer
he's gonna
Leg.
be he's gonna be inexpensive. He'll be I think he'll be a sophomore in terms of his year. So to me, what is the like if you brought him in as a 12th guy, like Louisville hasn't even fielded a 12th and 13th guy these first couple of years under Pat Kelsey. To me, especially with the fact that Louisville has lacked ball handlers, I'm gonna need at least three
That's my
point
thing.
guards on the
That's my
roster.
thing. 2 years in year one, you had a guard who knew your system, redshirting, who couldn't play. This
Yeah.
year, you brought in a Kamara, another player who couldn't play. What's it going to hurt to bring in a kid
I,
who can play against size at the D2 level? He can get the ball up the court without turning it over at the
like,
very
why not
least.
have that just in case? Why not
Because
have that
guess
just
what?
in case?
If you had that kid on this season on the team this season, he said, "I'm willing to break my red shirt," versus you teaching him and what a red shirt is in Kamara, you would have been quick to play him. If that kid would
Yes.
have been in London Johnson's spot, you would have played him. So
Yes.
it's tough because I agree with you. I just don't know, but like the way that they maneuvered with London Johnson, the way they've maneuvered with these red shirts, I don't
What
know.
do we know
I
what's
don't know
happening with
what
London
he
Johnson yet?
I
Like,
it's the word is that it's from what heard, from what I've heard, that I cannot confirm is when obviously 100%, which you can't do these days. But I have heard that we're in a good spot to bring him back.
okay, okay. I'm looking. I was looking to see. I was trying to see. Uh, Yeah, apparently nobody really knows what's going on. I'll say that for right now, just from my from the information that I was just checking out. So I don't know what's up with that, but if they're not going to have London Johnson, they definitely still need to find two. They need two more point guards with what they have right now. If London Johnson's not there, if London Johnson was here, I'd say you need to get at least one more point guard. But if London Johnson's gone, I feel like Louisville needs two point guards. I agree with you on the big man, and they need another versatile wing that can, you know, maybe shoot, be a 3 and D type guy who can come off the bench that can give you some versatility. And of course, you have Adrian Woolley and all the great things he can do. Um, but yeah, we'll have to see on that, Rome. I know we've already been on here for over an hour. I did want to go through a couple more of these comments on here before we get out of here. Seabiscuit 32 had some thoughts. He said triple gap opportunities. He says we run a lot of Chicago zoom action, a lot of reading. Twirl off the first screen. You need the first screen to be an actual lob threat and a great screener, i.e. Badunga. And like that's what I sent a message to you during the Mike Rutherford show. To me, Roman, the the perspectives of what Louisville screen and roll game can be with Fulgaris, Shelstad, and Badunga. If you have Fulgaris who's just as adept going to the rim, putting rim pressure on there to dunk on it, as well as he does pick and fading, pick and popping out for a three. When you put Shelstad, have Fulgaris come up to set that screen, and you have Flory in the dunker spot, that's going to put so much pressure on the defense because you've got to respect
People
all
forget
three
people
guys.
forget a lot, like about half of James Scott's lobs were not from his screen in the pick and roll. It was from him
Exactly.
camping down low,
It came off of
waiting.
a Chucky Hepburn is going to get that screen from either Hadley or from Fat, and he's getting downhill and making that center come up to challenge, and you're tossing it right over the top to James Scott in the dunker spot. To me, that's one of the reasons why I feel like Fulgaris would be such a big. It's like adding a starting level Ali Khalifa, that has more athleticism. He can shoot it as well as Khalifa did last year, and he's going to be able to be a guy who's adept with the handoff pick and roll game as well as just setting the screen and rolling. And then you can leave Flory at that dunker spot and just let him cause havoc. Because what's going to end up happening is the whoever is in the corner on the side where because Flory's going to be weak side dunker spot. That
Mhm.
means that man's going to have to pinch down, okay, from the outside, which is going to either leave that backside three
Yep.
pointer
The,
wide
the
open.
the driver gets the kick out there if the man plays the lane too close.
Exactly. And if he doesn't, that's a dunk for Flory. If it's not, it's a wide open three to whoever's in that corner. You
And
know?
the entire time he's in good offensive rebounding position.
Yes, yes. I mean, it just that's why I am going to celebrate for as much as anybody that we've talked about, and I will do a live, just like I said, for every commitment. So we will be on here if Alvaro Fulgaris does commit. I will be right back on here. We will have another one of these, but I will be super super excited for that, Rome. But I just want to say thank you. C Biscuit actually gave us a shout out. He said. I guess he had a lot of comments. He said, "I'm sorry, I'm from Cincy, diehard Card fan. Thank you so much for hosting." So no, appreciate you for checking that out, Roman. I appreciate you coming and hopping on here with me in this late hour, man. I just wanted to get this out, and like I said, I got to make sure to continue letting people know. Come follow me at Raashaan Myers, RAASHAANMYERS, just my name. Just get the word out there to your people. I don't know how long I'll be able to host the lives on my old handle, but I'm gonna keep hosting lives on there so I can get out there to as many socials as I can. But Rome, you got any more thoughts before we get out of here, man?
Ready for the next one already.
I love it. And another one. That's what I'm talking about. Appreciate it, Roman. Hey, like we always say, without struggle,
There is no progress.
peace, y'all. Thanks so much.